You know, I've spent my whole life studying wealth, not just how to build it, but what destroys it. And after 94 years, I can tell you something with absolute certainty. Most people aren't poor because they don't make enough money. They're poor because they buy the wrong things. It's that simple and that complicated, because these wrong things, they don't look wrong at first. They look normal. Everyone's buying them. Society tells you that you should buy them. They might even make you feel good temporarily. But they're destroying your wealth. Silently, slowly, year after year, like termites eating away at the foundation of a house. You don't see the damage until it's too late. Today I want to talk about 5 things that most people buy without thinking twice. 5 things that seem harmless, maybe even necessary, but if you want to get rich, really rich, you need to stop buying them immediately. And I'm not talking about small luxuries. I'm talking about major wealth killers. Things that can cost you hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars over your lifetime. So let's start with the first one, the biggest wealth destroyer I see in modern society, and that's new cars. Now, I know what you're thinking. Warren, everybody needs a car. How is that a wealth destroyer? Well, let me explain. It's not cars themselves, it's new cars. Brand new cars that people buy straight off the lot. A new car is one of the worst financial decisions you can make, and yet millions of people make this decision every single year. They walk into a dealership, they smell that new car smell, and they sign their financial freedom away. Here's why new cars are so devastating. The moment you drive a new car off the lot, it loses about 10 to 20% of its value immediately. You haven't even made it home yet, and you've already lost thousands of dollars. Then, over the next 5 years, that car will lose about 60% of its value. So a $40,000 car becomes a $16,000 car. You've lost $24,000 just by owning it. But it gets worse, because most people don't buy cars with cash, they finance them. So now you're not just losing money on depreciation, you're also paying interest. Thousands more dollars over the life of the loan. Let's do the complete math. You buy a $40,000 car, you finance it over 5 years at 5% interest. Your monthly payment is about $754. Over 5 years, you'll pay about $45,240 total. And at the end of those 5 years, your car is worth about $16,000. So you've paid $45,000 to own something worth $16,000. You've lost $29,000, almost $30,000 gone, vanished. Now here's what kills me. That same $30,000, if you had invested it instead at 10% annual returns, in 30 years it would be worth about $523,000. $523,000 from one decision, one choice to not buy a new car. And it's not just one car, is it? Most people buy a new car every 5 to 7 years. So over a lifetime, this decision gets made 5, 6, 7 times. We're talking about millions of dollars in lost wealth. I've never bought a new car. Never. Not when I was poor, and certainly not now. I buy used cars, reliable, boring, practical cars, and I drive them until they can't be driven anymore. People think this is strange. They say, Warren, you're worth over $100 billion. You could buy any car you want. Why do you drive that old thing? And I tell them, because a car is transportation. It gets me from point A to point B. A new car doesn't get me there any better than a used one, so why would I waste money on it? That's the mindset shift you need. A car is not a status symbol. It's not an expression of your success. It's a tool, a depreciating tool that costs you money every single day you own it. So if you want to get rich, stop buying new cars. Buy a reliable used car that's 5 to 7 years old. Pay cash for it. Drive it for 10 years or more, and invest every dollar you're saving by not having a car payment. That one decision will make you wealthy over time. I promise you that. All right, the second thing you need to stop buying if you want to get rich, and this one's painful for a lot of people, is a house that's too expensive for your income. Now, I'm not saying don't buy a house. Owning a home can be a good financial decision if you do it right, but most people don't do it right. They buy too much house. They stretch themselves to the absolute limit of what a bank will lend them, and the banks. The banks are happy to lend you as much as possible because they make money on the interest. They don't care if your house poor. They don't care if you have no money left over to invest. Here's what happens. A bank tells someone making $100,000 a year that they can afford a $400,000 house. And that person thinks, great, I'm approved for $400,000. I should buy a $400,000 house. But that's insane. Just because a bank will lend you money doesn't mean you should borrow it. Banks qualify you based on debt-to-income ratios that are designed to maximize their profits, not your wealth. A $400,000 house with 20% down means a $320,000 mortgage. At 4% interest over 30 years, that's about $1,500 a month in principal and interest. Add property taxes, insurance, maintenance, you're looking at $2,000 to $2,500 a month easily. That's $25,000 to $30,000 a year. On a $100,000 income, that's 25 to 30% of your gross income. After taxes, you're spending 40% or more of your take-home pay on housing. And what's left for investing? For building wealth? Almost nothing. You're house rich and cash poor. Your money is locked up in equity that you can't access unless you sell or borrow against it. I bought my house in 1958 for $31,500. I could have afforded more even back then, but I didn't need more. The house was comfortable. It was in a good location. It was enough. And because I kept my housing costs low, I had money to invest, to buy stocks, to build businesses. That's how I built wealth. Not by living in the biggest house I could afford, but by living in a modest house and investing the difference. Here's my rule for housing. Your house should cost no more than 2.5 to 3 times your annual income, ideally less. So if you make $100,000 a year, you should be looking at houses in the $250,000 to $300,000 range, not $400,000. And you should put at least 20% down to avoid PMI. And you should get a 15-year mortgage, not a 30-year one. Pay it off as fast as you can so you're not paying interest for decades. Most people do the opposite. They buy the maximum house they can get approved for. They put down the minimum. They take a 30-year mortgage, and then they wonder why they can't get ahead financially. Your house should support your wealth building, not prevent it. It should be a place to live, not a financial anchor that drowns you in payments and maintenance. So if you want to get rich, stop buying houses that are too expensive. buy less house than you can afford, and invest the money you're saving in mortgage payments, property taxes, and maintenance. Over 30 years, the difference between a modest house and an expensive one could be $1 million or more in investment growth. That's the real cost of buying too much house. The third thing you need to stop buying, and this one might surprise you, is brand new furniture and home decor. People don't think of furniture as a big expense, but it adds up fast. A new couch costs $2,000. A dining room set, $3,000. Bedroom furniture, another few thousand. Decorations, artwork, rugs, lamps. Before you know it, you've spent $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 furnishing your house. And for what? Furniture is furniture. It serves a function. You sit on it, you eat at it, you sleep in it. Brand new furniture doesn't do any of these things better than gently used furniture. But people buy new because they want their house to look nice. They want to impress visitors. They want that showroom feeling. And furniture stores are happy to sell it to them, often with financing at high interest rates. So now you're paying interest on furniture that's losing value. Because furniture depreciates too, not as fast as cars, but it still loses value, especially modern furniture that's not built to last. Here's what wealthy people do. They buy used furniture. They shop at estate sales, garage sales, thrift stores, online marketplaces. They find quality pieces at a fraction of retail price. Or they buy new furniture very slowly over many years. They start with the essentials and add pieces as they can afford them with cash. They don't furnish an entire house in one shopping trip with store credit. I've had some of the same furniture for decades. Some pieces I bought used, some I bought new but have kept forever because they still work fine. I've never understood the need to constantly redecorate or buy new furniture just because styles change. Let me give you some numbers. Let's say you spend $30,000 furnishing your house with new furniture. That's typical for a middle-class home these days. If you had bought used furniture instead for $10,000, and you absolutely can furnish a nice home for that amount if you're patient and shop smart, you'd save $20,000. $20,000 invested at 10% returns for 30 years becomes about $349,000. $350,000 from buying used furniture instead of new. That's not pocket change. That's real wealth. That's financial freedom. All because you are willing to buy furniture that someone else used first. Most people won't do this. They think used furniture is beneath them. They want everything new and perfect, and they pay dearly for that preference. So if you want to get rich, stop buying new furniture. Buy used. Buy slowly. Buy only what you actually need, and invest the money you're saving. Your furniture doesn't care if it's building your wealth, but your investment account does. The fourth thing you need to stop buying, and this is a big one in modern society, is the latest technology and gadgets. You know what I mean. The newest iPhone every year. The latest laptop, even though your current one works fine. Smart home devices, gaming systems, tablets, smartwatches, wireless earbuds. All the gadgets that technology companies convince you that you need. But here's the thing. You don't need them. Not really. They're wants, not needs. And they're expensive wants that become outdated almost immediately. A new iPhone costs $1,000 or more. Every year, a new model comes out, and millions of people line up to buy it, even though their current phone works perfectly fine. Let's say you buy a new iPhone every 2 years instead of every year. That's $500 a year you're saving. Over 40 years of your adult life, that's $20,000 saved. But it's not just $20,000. It's $20,000 invested. At 10% returns over 40 years, that's about $979,000. Almost $1 million from not upgrading your phone every year. And phones are just one example. The same principle applies to laptops, tablets, televisions, all of it. Technology companies have convinced people that they need the latest and greatest, but they don't. I don't own a smartphone. I have a flip phone. Does everything I need it to do. Makes calls, that's it. And people think I'm ancient. They think I'm out of touch. But you know what? My flip phone costs almost nothing. It doesn't need to be upgraded. It doesn't distract me. It doesn't cost me money on apps or subscriptions. It's just a tool that does its job. Now, I'm not saying you need to get a flip phone. I understand that smartphones are useful for most people. But you don't need the latest model. You can keep your phone for 4 or 5 years instead of 2. You can buy last year's model at a discount. You can take care of your devices so they last longer. The same applies to computers. A laptop that's a few years old can still do everything you need. You don't need the latest model with the fastest processor unless you're doing specialized work that actually requires it. Most people upgrade their technology not because they need to, but because they want to. Because they want the new features. Because they want to feel current. Because advertising has convinced them that old technology is worthless. But wealthy people see through this. They use technology until it stops working or becomes truly obsolete. They don't chase the latest gadgets. They view technology as a tool, not as a status symbol. So if you want to get rich, stop buying the latest technology. Use what you have until it actually needs replacing. Buy refurbished or previous generation models. Resist the urge to upgrade just because something new came out. Every dollar you don't spend on gadgets is a dollar that can compound into wealth. And over a lifetime, those dollars add up to enormous amounts. Technology is supposed to make your life easier and more productive. But if it's making you poorer, then it's not serving you. It's serving the companies selling it to you. That's thing number 4. Stop buying the latest technology. It's one of the biggest wealth destroyers in the modern world. And now the fifth and final thing you need to stop buying if you want to get rich, and this one's going to be controversial, is luxury experiences that you can't afford. I'm talking about expensive vacations, first-class flights, five-star hotels, designer restaurants, VIP concert tickets, luxury cruises. All the experiences that people justify by saying, "You only live once, I'm making memories." And look, I'm not against experiences. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy life. But there's a big difference between enjoying life affordably and spending money you don't have on luxuries you can't afford. Most people don't make this distinction. They see their friends posting vacation photos on social media. They feel like they're missing out. So they book an expensive trip they can't afford, often putting it on credit cards. A luxury vacation can easily cost $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for 1 week. 1 week of your life. And then it's over. And all you have are photos and memories. Oh, and debt. Can't forget the debt. Here's what kills me about this. People will spend $10,000 on a vacation and then complain they can't afford to invest. They'll say, "I don't have money to put into my retirement account." But they have money for a luxury cruise. The priorities are backwards. They're choosing temporary pleasure over permanent security. They're choosing 1 week of luxury over years of financial freedom. Now, I'm not saying don't take vacations. I'm saying take vacations you can afford. If you can't pay cash for it without impacting your investment goals, you can't afford it. Want to travel? Great. Find cheaper ways to do it. Road trips instead of flights. Camping instead of hotels. Cooking your own meals instead of eating out every meal. There are plenty of ways to travel affordably and still have wonderful experiences. I've never been on an expensive vacation in my life. I've traveled for business, sure, but I've never felt the need to stay in five-star hotels or fly first class or go on luxury cruises. Why? Because those things don't make me happier. A fancy hotel room is just a place to sleep. A first-class seat gets me to the same destination at the same time as economy. A luxury cruise is just, well, I've never understood the appeal. But beyond my personal preferences, the math is devastating. Let's say someone takes 2 luxury vacations a year, spending $10,000 each time. That's $20,000 a year. Over 30 years, that's $600,000 spent on vacations. But if they had taken budget vacations instead, say $5,000 total per year, and invested the other $15,000 at 10% returns, that's about $2.4 million. $2.4 million. That's the real cost of luxury vacations. That's what you're giving up. Not just the money you spend, but all the wealth that money could have become. And here's the thing. Budget vacations can be just as memorable as expensive ones. Sometimes more so. Because the best memories aren't usually about how much you spent. They're about who you were with and what you experienced. I've known people who took simple road trips with their families that they remember for the rest of their lives. And I've known people who spent $20,000 on a luxury vacation and barely remember it. The experience isn't determined by the price tag, but your wealth definitely is. So if you want to get rich, stop buying luxury experiences you can't afford. Travel affordably. Create memories that don't cost a fortune, and invest the difference. Your future self will thank you. Because the freedom that wealth provides lasts a lot longer than a week-long vacation. All right, let me recap these 5 things because they're important. If you want to get rich, you need to stop buying 1. New cars. Buy used, reliable vehicles and drive them for years. This alone can make you a millionaire. 2. Houses that are too expensive. Buy less house than you can afford. Keep your housing costs low so you have money to invest. 3. Brand new furniture and home decor. Buy used, buy slowly, buy only what you need. Save tens of thousands. 4. The latest technology and gadgets. Use what you have until it truly needs replacing. Stop chasing the newest model of everything. 5. Luxury experiences you can't afford. Travel and enjoy life affordably. Don't sacrifice your financial future for Instagram-worthy vacations. These 5 things, if you eliminate them from your life, you will save hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably millions, over your lifetime. And that money, invested consistently, will make you wealthy. But here's the hard part: actually doing it. Because all of these things seem normal. Everyone around you is buying them. Society tells you that you should buy them. You'll feel like you're missing out. You'll feel like you're depriving yourself. And sometimes you'll be judged. People will think you're cheap. They'll wonder why you drive an old car or live in a modest house or don't take fancy vacations. But you have to decide what matters more to you. The approval of people who are probably broke themselves, or your own financial freedom. I chose freedom a long time ago, and I've never regretted it, not for 1 second. Because that freedom, that ability to do what I want, when I want, without worrying about money, that's worth more than any car or house or vacation could ever be worth. You can make the same choice. Starting today, right now, you can decide to stop buying these 5 things, to redirect that money toward investments, toward building real, lasting wealth. It won't be easy. It will require discipline. It will require you to be different from everyone around you. It will require you to delay gratification and think long term. But it works. It absolutely works. I'm living proof. And there are millions of other wealthy people who did the exact same thing. The secret to getting rich isn't making more money. Most people who make a lot of money stay broke because they spend it all. The secret is not spending money on things that don't build wealth. Stop buying these 5 things and start investing the money instead. That's the formula. That's the path. That's how you get rich. It sounds simple because it is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. It takes courage to be different, to live below your means when you could live at your means, to drive an old car when you could finance a new one, to stay in a modest house when you could stretch for something bigger. But that courage pays off richly, with wealth that lasts, with freedom that compounds, with a life lived on your own terms. So I'm asking you to make a commitment today. Look at your spending. Identify which of these 5 things you're buying and stop. Stop financing new cars. Stop stretching for too much house. Stop buying furniture you don't need. Stop upgrading your technology constantly. Stop taking luxury vacations you can't afford. Just stop. And redirect that money, every single dollar, into investments, into index funds, into dividend-paying stocks, into assets that will grow and compound and build your wealth year after year. Do this consistently for 10, 20, 30 years, and you will be wealthy. Not because you made some genius investment, not because you got lucky, but because you had the discipline to stop buying things that destroy wealth and start buying things that build it. That's the real secret. It's not complicated. It's not hidden. It's just that most people won't do it. They want the new car and the big house and the fancy vacations too much. They can't delay gratification long enough to build real wealth. But you can be different. You can make better choices. You can be the person who drives an old car and lives in a modest house but has millions in the bank. The person who has real wealth, not just the appearance of wealth. That's who I've been my entire life, and it's worked out pretty well for me. I think it can work out well for you too. So stop buying these 5 things. Start building real wealth and enjoy the freedom that comes with it. Thank you for listening. Now go make better choices with your money. You've got this. Good luck.